My name is Shayan. I'm a partner on the investment team at Multicoin. We're going to talk about AI today. Always fun. Maybe we can just start with intros from everyone, and then we'll jump right in.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Rick Bagshaw, the ecosystem lead at TARS AI. TARS AI was one of the first AI projects to get a grant from the Solana Foundation, and we've been building AI products since then. So we built a AI assistant for the Solana phone. So think Siri, but it's Web3 native, so you can trade, swap, and everything on there. And then this month we launched an AI agent marketplace as well.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan. I am one of the co-founders of Orbit. We essentially do a ChatGPT for Web3 to help automate on-chain transactions across almost 200 protocols.
Hi, I'm David. I'm a contributor to Pipe Network. We're building a decentralized CDN, and we've got a lot of people very interested in connecting the Pipe CDN nodes to serve a hyperlocal inference.
Hi everyone, I'm Yannick, co-founder and CEO at Arcium, and with Arcium we are building the encrypted supercomputer starting on Solana. So we are enabling any kind of computation to be performed in a fully encrypted way over encrypted data. And what that enables is confidential functions, encrypted functions within Solana smart contracts. So developers are able to build dark pools, for example, directly on chain without any trust requirements. At the same time, we're also offering confidential machine learning and AI.
Sweet. So obviously a ton of ground to cover as we think about AI. I like to segment it with applications and infrastructure. It's just a very broad way to think about it. Within applications, clearly, the form factor with which people are interacting on chain is changing. It sounds like, Ryan and Rick, you guys are working on some portions of that. Could you talk a little bit about what models are doing within your systems and how that's changing kind of transaction creation and generation and things of that nature?
Yeah, sure. So I guess here the first thing to look at is scalability. So as we know, AI is very resource intensive, but Solana actually lends itself very well to this with high throughput and low fees. So it actually makes on-chain AI kind of more viable. And there's also the argument of decentralization versus performance. So we're seeing a hybrid architecture come into play here. Where AI processing occurs off-chain, but results are verified on-chain, offering a balanced solution. And the models that we're using, so we have our own LLM as well called TGPT, and we're really just trying to build systems and products that I guess you can imagine are almost like Web 2, and the users don't necessarily need to know or know that it's Web 3 native, just to really help with adoption and onboard as many users as possible.
Yeah, and on our side, we essentially have hundreds of different agents that are specialized agents that sit behind our interface. Each of those agents are specialized for a given protocol, and we can cross-coordinate with those agents to do complex intents. To essentially we use what we call a knowledge engine, which is really a knowledge graph to identify and traverse, to do things like swaps and bridges, or if you want to do something in perps, or you want to combine off-chain data with on-chain data to then automate something on-chain. But really the whole purpose of this is to abstract as much as possible, go much more, what we're really focused on now is going much more left curve, and really automating the transactions for people. We've had a lot of users use our platform. We've seen what they've used it for, and really trying to break down additional knowledge barriers and gaps in there. So really, really great. Solana has been a great partner for that.
Yeah, so it sounds like the idea here is to make transaction intent much more simple, and make it so that users are able to interact with different applications without this conventional point and click UI. There might be 50 other different simpler modalities for interacting with the chain, and that's kind of the design space you guys are working in. Super cool. At the application layer, at the infrastructure layer, David, Yannick, you guys are clearly working on interesting components of that. How do you see kind of bandwidth and compute in the specific configurations that you guys are dealing with them as relevant for AI or using AI?
Yeah, so we're not touching much of the compute at this point. We're looking for these really giga brains to leverage these GPUs and partner with them and serve the inference. It's a tremendous shift in the industry, and we've been blessed the timing of launching Pipe and to be able to you know go along with this trend. So if you look, for example, you'll see Microsoft canceling 60-80 billion dollars of data center build out. And if you listen to the talks from their CEO, they're pushing all that inference to the edge now. And they want these hyperscale fleets of inference at the edge. And essentially, we've been talking to tons of, DeepN AI projects. They're trying to push the same thing because they're all in data centers today. It's really an amazing time to be building out AI infrastructure.
Yeah, so Arcium really sits on the computing level, I guess, because the kind of computing power that Arcium serves is encrypted computing power, right? So it's a bit different. Every communication inside of the Arcium network sort of is sending random data, encrypted data between the participants. And then there's communication between the network and Solana, where there's encrypted state sitting on Solana that is being processed with an Arcium, and verifiable encrypted or public outputs are being sent back to Solana. So I think the role for Arcium in scaling Solana with AI really is enabling new kinds of AI use cases that before we weren't able to pursue, and more importantly, actually making decentralized AI valuable. Because one of the big problems with decentralized AI is that every data, every model is publicly available to everyone, right? If we imagine a public ledger on top of which we were to train something, which then brings problems about how can these systems actually, how can the data, how can the models be monetized if I can just access them and execute them locally, right? And so we believe that encryption and what we call privacy 2.0 is the answer to that. Not only being able to encrypt things, but being able to compute on top of encrypted shared state. So every single data point can be encrypted. At the same time, we can train models, and we can go even as far as producing fully encrypted models. So you don't have to expose the resulting model. The model can remain encrypted, and then inference and predictions can be performed into those models, again with encrypted data. And blockchain is very nice in this context, because we, for example, now have teams building on top of Arcium encrypted machine learning marketplaces. So people providing already pre-trained models in an encrypted way, other parties having data they want to use to run predictions inside of these models. And then the blockchain really just serves as the coordination layer of being able to allow for a transaction on chain for using this encrypted model without any of the involved parties ever seeing any of the other parties' data.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels like most of the production models today have exhausted all of the publicly available training data. Like you're reaching some sort of diminishing return on getting a web page. Like the next frontier seems to be stuff that's private, stuff that isn't easily accessible, and clearly crypto and crypto capital markets helpful for coordinating that. And if you're actually doing the post processing or the fine tuning or whatever it is, it's probably happening at the edge. You probably want high bandwidth for that. So
Exactly, yeah.
there's clear overlap across,
No, 100%. I really think that what you just mentioned, the exhaustion problem of training data, there's this immense amount of highly valuable data that sits in data silos nowadays. And by being able to operate over all of this data in a fully secure, encrypted way, creating new economic incentives for people to provide this data, I think will allow for new types of AI.
Totally. So maybe shifting, I want to, obviously there's a new model that comes out every week. That race is endless. I want to understand how you guys are thinking about, frontier models and foundation models evolving. Like when, Claude releases 3.7 and Grok 3 comes out the week before it, Does that change anything about the work that you guys are doing? Does it make your agents better? Does it make it worse? Are you building everything from scratch, or how much are you leveraging from the work the other guys are doing? I'm curious, as you guys are both kind of building agent systems, how you think about the traditional model providers and the work that they do, how you think about working with them or leveraging them.
Yeah, so I'll take this one. So I think for us, it's kind of giving some of the power and freedom to the user for them to be able to choose what models they want. So for us on our platform, you can go in and you can choose to work with OpenAI or Claude or our own TGPT as well, and use those models. So for us, it's really kind of giving flexibility to our users on what they want to do, and I think as well that also kind of leads into the source of truth. If you put commands or use different LLMs, you're going to get different responses, whether it be like Grok, Claude, ChatGPT. The output that you're going to get is very different. And so, given that flexibility to the users, it kind of takes some of the pressure off of us because it kind of gives it to the user for them to decide. And that's kind of how we're tackling that one.
On our side, we actually, when we originally launched the product, we had supported about roughly 40 different models. We still continue to support roughly 40 models, state-of-the-art models, closed source, open source, verifiable models. We have a whole plethora. What we found was quite interesting. A lot of people, at least in our user base, didn't care about a lot of the different models. They just wanted to use the best one. So we started kind of choosing the best one and what we saw for the best performance for each individual subset agent that we have. But when new models come out, whether it be Claude with 3.7, or maybe today with GPT 4.5, or some new open source model like Llama 4 when that's expected to come out, I get really excited because I think all these are just better models means better agents, and better agents mean better user consumer experience. And more capability. So we saw like Amazon's Alexa stuff come out yesterday, and they did a massive, really cool preview with that, where you can purchase tickets for concerts, you can go buy movies, you can go book hotels, you can do all kinds of stuff. I think, and that's all from one single interface. I think that's really the unlock for a lot of this. And the models from 2 years ago or even a year ago were substantially worse. And so we're seeing cost curves drop. We're seeing a performance improve. Then you have these like reasoning models that do reinforcement learning to effectively like continue to push the boundaries. And I think that's actually how we can push beyond the existing data and actually get some better behavior and better answers for what we're looking for.
I totally agree with you there. Just to kind of jump in, I think when it comes to the user adoption, and you mentioned, Alexa yesterday and the update there, the end user doesn't necessarily need to know what model they're using. They just want to have it work really well. And, people have been using Alexa now for years, so they're really used to having that conversation. And so the responses that they're getting, or the ability to book tickets, like you say, for them, it's just, oh, cool, this is a great update. They don't necessarily know like what's happening in the background. And I think that's really like the key to further adoption, whether it be, Web 2 tools that are integrating AI in there, and the users just kind of benefiting from that better intelligence. There's, perhaps an agent that can link up to different services. But yeah, I see that definitely as a future as well. That's hopefully what we're building towards at TARS too.
So as you guys implement these agent systems, I'm curious to understand where you think we are in terms of capabilities. Like obviously you can tell a Telegram bot like buy X number of tokens and it'll do that. Like that's super deterministic. Maybe like one level of abstraction above that is like, what token can I buy that will generate a 3x return in 24 hours? And a slightly more complicated question, but theoretically something an agent can go out and do. My understanding is the agent system's not quite there. They aren't good enough yet. But what are you seeing on what kind of things are are the agents able to do? And how is that actually changing consumer behavior in terms of like what to do on chain?
For us, we're focused on building out our V2 right now, which is heavily focused on fully autonomous agents. We launched our V1, and that can do things like swapping, bridging, staking, withdrawals, deposits. I mean, we can do pretty much anything cross crypto, which is pretty cool. But what we really saw was a lot of people, there's a consolidation around user behavior and what they actually wanted to achieve with the agents. And a a lot of it also involved a knowledge gap. So if you're given like a text input and you just said, hey, this thing can do whatever, only the people who knew and kind of toyed around with it for a while understood that they could do something where like we have off-chain data that ties into on-chain data, and they could automate like a trade to go buy Trump token, let's say, at night when it launches and they're in Europe or something. But what we're continuing to see is that like you have specialization of the individual agents, you reduce the overall domain space of each agent, you see like substantial returns in how well they perform. We also have a lot of supporting infrastructure that we've built out to enable the agents to cross-coordinate, and we have like effectively a swarm of swarms, if you will. So each of those are things that were not around even 2 years ago or a year ago. Most of these are much more recent things, but you're seeing substantial increases in performance. And I think most people and what they've interacted with is single agent stuff. You know, you do search or whatever on ChatGPT. That's what most people have interacted with. Deep research is more closer to that multi-agent. And so I think that's going to like continue to explode in adoption, and you're going to see a lot more capability there when you have people or effectively agents that can push something and then check on it as well. So you kind of have much better success rates there.
Yeah, I think just to jump in here, I think a good comparison would be to look at, say, like AI generated video. You know, you look back a couple of years ago, and there's the the famous Will Smith video where he's eating the spaghetti, and then you see what we have now. You'll probably see like a similar kind of change in the AI agents in terms of like their performance and how smart they are. For us, with the AI agent marketplace, we kind of give again flexibilities to the users, and we're constantly going to be updating the agents and their capabilities. But one of the things that we do is, if you wanted to create, let's say, a customer support agent, you can go on there, tell it what you need to do, obviously give it its source of truth so it understands what your company's wanting to achieve. But then you can also train it as well through your social media. So you can connect, your corporate X account there. So it learns your tone of voice and how you communicate with your community. And then that agent then will adopt that. So when it's talking to users on your website, it will do that. And I think, over the next, I won't even say years, like weeks, probably months, you'll just start to see kind of a huge change in agents and what they're capable of, and where they're able to get data to go out and perform tasks.
So it sounds like in the near future, you might have agents responsible for a ton of transactions on chain, either on behalf of users or, it's much scary to think about like agents actually acting on their own behalf, but like, theoretically that world exists. You have many more transactions. You need better performance. You need to increase bandwidth and lower lower latency. David, we talked about this briefly on our last conversation, but how do you think Pipe's infrastructure could potentially plug into core transaction infrastructure on Solana, whether it's in the form of forwarding packets, RPCs, things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of these agents, they need the latest data, the fastest possible. And, today, again, these RPC providers are working night and day to stabilize, but, they're all in data centers. So they're going to be almost 1 second behind us. Like we benchmarking things today, and it's shocking that the hyperlocal nodes are this performant. And, definitely see the AI is plugging in. There's been a couple of open source integrations already that people are storing data and reading it. And it's actually kind of hard to figure out what people are doing. We built some privacy pieces in, and it's great. It's fascinating to see that organic piece. There's like many of these like AI agent model kits out there, and that's where we're starting to see some of the integrations. But I definitely think that at the end of the day, the RPCs will have really great place for like getting transactions and submitting them. And then, as Solana evolves too, there's a possibility of more of like a stateless client, where essentially if the validator is like a lightweight and it does some transactions, it'll reach out to something like Pipe to get this little snippet of the state root before it can proceed forward. And, that will allow, hundreds of thousands of Solana validators in the future. There's some really cool stuff on Solana and Anatoly's Twitter about this.
Super cool. Yannick, you were, mentioning the design space for sort of private models. How do you think about, do you sort of view that as like a thing that Archeum is going to do itself, or do you expect other folks to kind of leverage the infrastructure and design things? And if so, are there examples of such models? How do you think about growing that, broader ecosystem for training, things of that nature?
Yeah, so we at Archeum really are focused on the infrastructure level. So we are a team of PhDs, researchers, engineers, just building new cutting edge cryptography. So we leave the task of actually building the applications, building B2B, B2Z applications on top of Solana and our network extension that's encrypted computing. In regards to AI, what we've had so far is numerous teams using our technology for machine learning and neural networks, and that's both in the blockchain space, but also in the traditional space. Because what we did over the last 3 years is develop some of the cryptography we are using today, mainly the cryptography that allows you to have fully encrypted on-chain smart contracts. But the AI piece, I guess, our so-called Manticore protocol, is what we, together with the team, acquired last year from our largest Web2 competitor. And so what they've been doing with this tech is offering highly secure, fully private AI workflows in defense, TradFi, and healthcare. And we are bringing that with Archeum on-chain for anyone to use. And so basically teams using us, not ourselves, training models and making them available. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, I want to do sort of a poll now for each of you guys. Maybe poll's not the right way to describe this, but like, what is the largest bottleneck that you face right now? What are sort of the limits that you're running up against, whether they're technical or economic or social or whatever it is? How do you think about what's stopping you, and maybe we can see if there's someone else on this panel that can solve that. So maybe we'll start with you, Nick.
Okay. So I think the challenge is ensuring the source of truth, like AI generated results are provable and auditable as well, and resistant to bias. So as I mentioned, like we we have different models that the users can choose from, so they can have some flexibility there. And I think it's important here to kind of have an open ecosystem where projects are working with each other. Everyone on this panel is working towards further adoption. They want to see growth. So being able to collaborate in that way, and some ways as well in which we solve this is we use trusted execution environments along with like ZK proofs, so the AI proves its logic without exposing like the raw data. Because again, as I mentioned, Solana is very good at handling AI, and I think that if you kind of look at the processing power, I guess off chain, and then have the results on chain, that's a good way of doing it.
For on our side, like some of the limitations and things we kind of run into in learning is just in general is like honestly user experience. Like I think when we first launched our platform for V1, it was very much so like right curve, tons of options. We support a whole bunch of stuff, and I kind of mentioned this earlier today too. But it's kind of like we had a Cheesecake Factory menu, and it's like, what do you choose? And a lot of people are like, I don't know. And then you know, I think for us now, we're very focused on going much more left curve. So how do we abstract even more of that from the user? So we're doing things like recommended agents and actions. So we're spending a lot of time on that. We're spending a lot of time, effectively from a very simple side is like, we're just surfacing like good opportunities to them. And then we're focused on the automation component. So those like opportunities can be enacted on even if the user's sleeping, if they want.
I think for us, we're routing the users to the data the quickest. I think a bit of that is like we've got these algorithms for load balancing content, traditional streaming video, and trying to balance like AI algorithms so that we have those inference graphs loaded at certain edge positions is quite complicated, and it's ever changing. Week by week as new models come out, and we see people testing crazy things with like IoT out there, and they want just a variety of models, and part of you bring up the truth piece. There's a couple of teams that have been experimenting, and it's kind of bizarre to me, but they'll run questions through like 7 or 10 models, and then they'll write all those results to pipe right now so that they're like archiving it. And I don't know what they're doing in the future, but it's really cool to see. So I think we're pretty blessed. It's more just trying to find great great partners and get their inference graphs closer to the users.
Yeah, for us, I think it's the same as with Solana itself, IBRL, increasing bandwidth, reducing latency. Things can always be faster. So that's what we are spending a lot of time on. So we're spending a lot of time doing even more hardware optimization. We just recently started doing some CUDA optimization together with NVIDIA, where we've gained over 250 times performance increases. And yeah, comparing our technology stack now after doing a lot of optimizations to other cryptographic techniques, we've seen many orders of magnitude of performance increases that we were able to achieve. So that's very exciting, and especially exciting when not only having to run encrypted order books, but having to run tensor operations over real numbers, right? So a lot of exciting optimization work going on there, and we're really excited to be able to actually allow teams to now build AI and on-chain apps in a fully encrypted way, where it has become usable, where we've actually reached a point in the cryptographic research and development where it becomes practical to remove single points of failure, to remove trusted actors and trusted hardware, and instead solely rely on cryptography.
Cool. So I think we're coming up on time. Maybe one thing to close on is, as you look ahead this year, is there a specific feature or a specific product or a specific line of business that you guys are working on that you're excited about and want to tell folks who are listening about?
Yes, I guess I'll go first. So as I mentioned, we've launched our AI agent marketplace this month. So we're really excited to kind of bring more adoption to that, grow the AI agents, on their capabilities and what they can do. And I think just probably taking a different stance here is, there's been a lot of changes in the crypto space with ETFs coming in. We had the Bitcoin one, we had the Ethereum one. And I think what's really exciting this year, like we have the Solana ETF. I know there's applications coming up currently, but that's all working towards a spot ETF, which should come out this year. So I think that kind of adoption, you'll see bigger funds coming out over, and I think there's an opportunity for Solana really to be like the AI layer or ecosystem. So all of that kind of adoption and kind of funds moving to Solana is only going to help like the projects, like everyone on this stage that's building on there, and create some really good projects and ecosystems.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I mean, I think that's definitely a super exciting opportunity coming up. I would also say, like, I've kind of talked about a lot of things that we're focused on in our product and stuff like that. But I would say, like, one of the things I get most excited about for this year is I think 2025 is like the year where multiple technologies will converge. We have lots of interest in stable coins, lots of interest in like crypto, and then you have AI as a whole. And I think this year will be the year of the agent. So when all this will converge, I think a lot of it, crypto right now is kind of like this nice thing on the side for all of us here. All of us like this, and we really think this is the future. I think it'll become a necessity for a lot of agent companies outside of Web3 in a very short time, because I think you're going to see a lot of agents get produced, and it won't be in a like cathedral type model. It'll be in a bazaar in which it'll be highly fragmented, tons and tons of micropayments. And I think Solana is really poised to really capture that market.
I think for Pipe, we're really thrilled to bring, true technical product that's innovative and 10 to 20x better than Web 2 competition, and couple that with blockchain's really amazing. I think it's probably the first 20x type launch ever, and partnering with great providers from streaming video to trading data to AI agents, like it's going to open up this new pioneer of innovation.
Yeah, at Arcium, we are super excited to be launching into our public testnet next month. So making the encrypted supercomputer available to anyone wanting to build with it. And anyone can now start building encrypted on-chain apps. We've, for example, designed a custom Rust compiler where Solana developers can simply specify within their source code, I want this functionality to be executed in a confidential, encrypted way. I want this data object, this account to be encrypted, and they don't have to worry about anything else, about encryption, about cryptographic protocols. They simply need to specify that, and the rest has been taken care of securely.
Awesome. I think we're at time, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.